right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is Monday, September 2nd, 2024. I'm glad to see you all on here. And before we get started and bring our guest on, I think Gary Kendrick has a few words he'd like to say.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you, Billy?
Good.
I'd like to give a shout out tonight to James and Huggy and all the employees down at the Wise, Virginia Huddle House. Appreciate you guys.
Great. Glad you guys listen in. That's great. Well, we got a special day today. We got somebody here that has been around for a little while. Him and I have spent some time, particularly out in Salt Fork State Park. We've had some good times out there. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Joedy Cook. How you doing, Joedy?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good. Oh.
If you were any better, you'd have to kill us all, right?
We're all right.
All right. Well, just so you know, Gary Kendrick is my research guy. He does all the research on you, so I hope you didn't have no bones and skeletons in the closet. He looks like he's worried.
No, the picture keeps blacking out.
Yeah, we've been having issues here the past, I don't know, few weeks with internet issues or something. But hopefully it'll get better as we go. All right, Gary, I'm gonna let you loose.
Yes, sir. Joedy, it's good to meet you.
You too, buddy.
Got a little introduction here for you. You studied at the University of Maryland. Go Terrapins. Author of several books. Founder of the North American Dogman Project. You've been on television several times, and you're a U.S. Army vet. I'd like to thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you. You too.
I want to get started right off here. You've written several books on several different cryptids. The Dogman, the Mothman, Sasquatch. What can you tell us about the book that you wrote, The Beginner's Guide to Bigfoot Research?
I wanted to do a book on just basic if someone was getting into Bigfoot research, what kind of equipment to use, just how to make a cast, just basic information, when you go out to the field that you can sit there and, just learn on your own. And it was basically a guide just to kind of help you get through starting as a researcher to just, be able to get yourself going. It was just, like I said, it was just teaching you how to collect evidence, what type of good cameras to use, some of the cheaper stuff, what type of casting stuff to use, how, other than how to collect evidence, how to handle evidence, where you can go and get it, tested and how to do a form, just basic information. I tried to do it so where it wasn't so difficult. And for someone to understand, I did it real layman, more or less. So people have a better understanding on how to get into the research. And that's basically what the book was about.
Yeah, from what I've seen so far, it's an excellent book. I'm going to try to check it out myself. You're from Ohio, and in Ohio, I believe it's called the Grassman. What can you tell us about the Grassman of Ohio?
Well, what's interesting about that, the Ohio Grassman, I was the first researcher to ever use the word Grassman on a TV show or even in a book or a publication. I did the research on the name, and we were doing an investigation up in northern Ohio in an area called Canal Fulton, which is right outside of Akron. So the people up in that area were calling this thing the Grassman because we got a lot of reports of, Bigfoot up there. And how we ended up going up there, there was at the time, in Cincinnati, the gas and electric company in Cincinnati kind of like owned all the gas and electric companies in the state. So one of their workers was in this area, and he was putting up some electric line, and he noticed in this heavy grassed area there was this thing that looked like an igloo. Is the best way he described it. It was like a grass type igloo, and he saw this Bigfoot come out of the grass holding, like a child or a baby, and going into this structure. So we got a hold of your story, talked to the guy. He actually took us up there and to the area. We got some really good pictures of the igloo. And then we started talking to other people in the area, and that's how they were calling it the Grassman. Not so much because the area was heavily grassed where it was seen. It goes back a little bit further. Ohio has a lot of English, and it has a lot of Dutch. Okay. The Dutch that's in Ohio came from South Africa. They didn't come from Holland. Okay. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't understand that because South Africa was colonized by the Dutch, and a lot of them Dutch end up coming, to the United States and end up coming to Ohio. So what they did, this creature that they seen in Ohio, they also seen in South Africa. There's a place called Giant Castle Pass, and there's actually cave paintings there of this creature, which they call the Grassman. Okay, so when they were here in Ohio, they would see this Bigfoot here, and they would still call it the Grassman. There's a book that was written in 1911. It was published in 1911, started writing, I think, in 1877 by a guy the name of William Vanderbilt. And he wrote a book called A Buckeye Boyhood, and it's about him growing up in Ohio. And there's a chapter in there called In the Woods. So he describes on the road to Utica, which is a town right outside of Columbus, there was a road which is called, now it's called like Vine Street, which goes from Cincinnati to Utica. And that's the route everybody took. Excuse me. So he talks about this creature that he describes between a gorilla and Sinbad's old man of the mountain, what they called the Grassman, would harass people on this road. Well, through my research, I found out, Grassman and Grassman basically means the same thing, Bushman. Okay. So when the people from Ohio who were Dutch, basically as generation was going forward, people were losing the language and things are being, turned in more to English. So it went from Grassman to Grassman. So that's how the name came up. But it was always the same. But like I said, back in the 1800s and early 1900s, it was still considered Grassman.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. That history lesson.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, aren't the Dutch from South Africa, weren't they called the Moors?
Yeah, not all of them. Some of them were. There was actually, how can I describe this? There was two different types of Dutch. Okay, there were some that were called Black Dutch. They weren't black skin, but they were just called Black Dutch and just more Dutch. Okay, so the ones basically that were here in the United States were the more Dutch. Okay, is what I found out in my research. Now, there is Black Dutch, what they consider in Ohio also. But the further north you go from in Ohio going into Pennsylvania, it's basically the same. So, but like I said, when I was doing a lot of the research, on this, I found a lot of good stuff out about the Dutch and about South Africa with, like I said, with them having their own version of Bigfoot there, like you said, which is really neat because I ended up getting a really beautiful photograph of one of the cave paintings with these large creatures in there.
Excellent.
And they considered them as cannibals because they would eat the people. And like I said, when the Dutch were here, they seen this same thing that they saw in South Africa. And that's why they ended up calling it Grassman, because it was the same name they gave in South Africa at the time. So they were able to very familiar with what they were seeing.
That's excellent. I'm going to reach way back in time about 30 years ago. I think it was about September the 10th of 1995. You were on a television show called Sightings. I believe it was the 62nd episode.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that episode of Sightings? What was it like?
We were contacted. We were supposed to do it with Matt Moneymaker because he was on the show also. Mm-hmm. Okay, we were supposed to actually do an episode with him, but he ended up coming late, so we ended up doing it inside the house. So basically, we were just talking about some of the evidence that we found there in Canal Fulton, which was the nest area. And that's basically what that full episode with us was about. And one of the casts, I'm not sure, because like I said, it was so long ago, I can't remember if they actually showed the cast that we found, but they did show a lot of the photographs of the nest. And what was interesting about the picture, there was only 3 of us there. Okay. Excuse me, myself, George Clapson, and the guy that reported the sighting. And you can see George standing next to the alleged nest. But if you look off to the right, there's a tree there, and you see this thing standing under the tree. I mean, it's perfect, just standing right there watching us. And I never noticed that for it was a couple years before I actually noticed that in the picture, because I was the one that took the picture, and the guy was standing next to me, so we knew there was no one over there. And like I said, we never noticed it, and you can see this perfect image of this thing standing there watching us.
I'll have to go back and put that picture out.
Yeah, and the thing of it is, it looks like it's holding a child, because you kind of see this child's face, of a Sasquatch rather, and you see like the arms coming down where it's like, just holding it, under its arm, which is kind of an interesting picture.
Excellent. I believe you found that nest somewhere in, I think it was like February the 19th of 95, and then you were on the show in September, so it was still pretty fresh.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that structure? I've seen the show. I've seen the structure several times. It looks pretty intricate.
It is. I mean, the thing of it is, it's like an igloo, and it was woven. It was done very well, and it had an opening. And when you went inside, it had a really horrible smell inside. But there was like a huge flat rock that was in the middle of it. And you can see where it was breaking bones and so forth, because there was a bunch of bones that were laying in there, where it was trying to, I guess, eating the marrow out of the middle of the bones, because the bones were broke. So we figured this, whatever was in there was living in there. Okay. It was big enough for 3 of us to sit in, but yet, how can I describe this? There was enough room for at least 1 Bigfoot to be in there. 2, I think it probably would have gotten a little bit more crowded, but it would more or less had to sit there and lay on its side in order to be in there. It wouldn't have been able to sit up like we were able to, because the top came to about like right here from us, but it was pretty big wide all the way around. So like I said, something that big had to lay on its side in order to be there. But like I said, this is what we were told by this guy. This is what he saw something, go into, and so forth. So what was the funny thing about it? We were interviewed by a magazine about the story, and we told them everything, showed them the pictures and stuff, and it's like, man, that's pretty cool. So the magazine, it comes out. Okay, I'm standing in Kroger's, getting out of the line, and like how they have all the tabloid magazines and stuff there. There's this magazine with a picture of our nest on the cover, and it says U.S. Army ordered to destroy Bigfoot nest. I mean, I was like, what the hell? Where'd they get this picture? And it was actually the people that interviewed us, but they didn't tell us they were like this tabloid, and they did this whole article about, the how they got the Army involved in this was beyond me. But they just literally took this story and just totally destroyed it. But the neat thing about it, it got so much feedback in the UFO community. We were getting all kinds of emails and letters written about it and stuff. So so the magazine did good, but it was just it was just it was just surprising to sit there and see this, and I still have the magazine. I've been trying to find another copy for like the longest time, but yeah, it's funny. It really
all the UFO guys will say, "I told you so. I knew it."
Oh, I mean, when they interviewed us, I mean, it's like they just went ahead and just ignored everything we said and just put in all of this crazy stuff.
They already had their story right here.
Oh yeah, they had their story already, and they used her picture and things. But I was like, if I wouldn't have just looked over, I would never see the magazine there. And I was like, man, I had dollar signs. Like, man, someone took my picture and used it, and I'm going to sue them. And then I found out these were the people that came and interviewed us, and But we had this Japanese magazine come over and filmed us and did a big story. And I got a copy of it. It's in Japanese, but we got a translate of the story, and they did a really good job on this picture, or on this story. It was really, really good. And I'm like thinking, I had reservations because I'm thinking, oh, these guys are going to get Godzilla fighting Bigfoot. That's something crazy. But they did really good. I was surprised. They took it very serious. So I have a copy of that with our story and all the pictures and stuff in there. So yeah, it was pretty decent.
I'll be honest with you. I watched that episode of Sightings back in the day, and I can remember it. In that episode, you talked about that the grass and stuff was really high, and it was really hard for you guys to get back in there. And they came in and mowed it all down, and they actually ended up destroying the nest later on.
They did. After everything went public, we went back up there, and they completely mowed the area down. I mean, completely mowed it down. And we went back up there, maybe 6 months later, just to go back up there, and they started to build condominiums.
Wow!
In that same spot, they even took down the electrical wires. I mean, they totally just empty that area out.
Wow!
And I honestly, I don't think they would have done it. Because where this area was at, there was. There was ravines and stuff like that. I think that in the rain would have brought up a lot of flooding. And I think that's why this place was just so overgrown, because of the water that's getting in there. And it's like, why would you build something that's going to flood a lot? So I don't know. That was kind of heartbreaking to see that they destroyed everything that was there. Yeah.
I know. Speaking of TV shows, you were also on MonsterQuest, and you were with the man that we had on earlier, Don Keating, the grandfather of Ohio research.
I'm going to say something here.
Uh-oh.
No, let me. Don was not supposed to be on that show. Okay. I got Don on that show. Okay. And the show did really well. Okay. On the very last day, they were getting ready to leave. They said, okay, we're done and all this stuff. So Don waited till I left. And then Don comes out and says, hey, I've got this drone, this helicopter. Let's do this. Now he knew he had it. Okay. And he knew he was going to do it, but he waited till I left in order to do it. Okay. And so where he would be the main guy on the show, where, like I said, he wasn't supposed to be a part of it at all. They didn't want him on that show. Okay. And I sat there and convinced him to bring Don on, because I said, because I have always liked Don Keating. Okay. Don Keating, he felt that I was a threat to him. Okay. And I truly felt that way. I had all the highest respect for him. I treated him, respectfully, but he never treated me back the same way. He always treated me as I was a threat. He had a conference. He'll invite anybody other than me to speak. And I just, I took that personally. He wouldn't let me speak because, I was getting noticed, and we had a book out that was that was a very well book that people in the Bigfoot community loved that book, and they were buying it up, and it got completely sold out. And we had to end up doing a second edition on the book that made it even better, because Salt Fork picked up the book to carry in their thing, bookstore rather, or gift shop. But like I said, that teed me off when he did that with the drone, because he waited till I left in order to do that. And it just goes to show that it was all about him and not really about the show. And like I said, I don't like saying anything about anybody unless they're there, but like I said, I never had an issue with the guy. I always treated him with respect, and he never gave me the same respect back.
Well, getting back to the show, on the show, you showed a skull that you found in Ohio in 2006.
Yeah, it was a baboon skull that I found in an area called Buzzard's Truth Rock. Okay, and which was really weird. Another incident was after I showed that skull and where I found it, the park ended up putting in a fence around it where you can't go up there anymore, because there's a ravine you could climb to get on top. And I used to go up there as a kid with my older brother, and the buzzards will always have their nests on top there. Okay. And when we went up there, we found that skull, and there was a bunch of other bones. Now, and this is the one thing that really, really got me angry with MonsterQuest, because this section they did not air, and I made it very well known to them that I was very, very pissed that they left this part out, and they did it on purpose. Okay, Ohio is known for legal and illegal exotic animal trade. Okay, Adams County and Scioto County are the two biggest counties, and that's a fact. That the Ohio DNR will confirm that 100%. Okay, that baboon was most likely somebody's pet. Okay, because it had a bullet hole in its skull, probably from a .22. So the thing got too big, too aggressive, and they shot it, and then they dumped the body. Okay. And I said that's the possibility why this skull was found. Okay. They were eating off the body, and they took it up there and they were finishing off. The point was that if there was a baboon in Ohio, okay, which we have several primate facilities that has baboons who actually, one we know for a fact got hit by lightning and all the electric went out, and baboons were able to get out of that facility, because I've talked to several police officers that actually seen these things eat roadkill off the road. So we knew there were baboons in Ohio, and baboons can adapt to the weather. Okay. So when someone who know nothing about Bigfoot or whatever is out in the woods and they see this large baboon, they're going to think it's a monster. They're going to think it's Bigfoot or something like that. Okay. Because they never seen anything like this. See this big hairy ape, with teeth. So my point was that some of the sightings in Ohio could have been, some type of a primate from a facility or exotic animal trade that got out and was misidentified as Bigfoot. Well, they didn't like that. They wanted this whole thing about this skull being a mystery, that this skull, there might be a different type of species of Bigfoot that has a skull like that. And no, and that had nothing to do with it. And that, like I said, when they cut that part out, I was really pissed because it made me look stupid. And I told them that made me look stupid because I got a lot of grief because of that skull. Everybody knows what that skull was, but no, they had to make it as if it was a big mystery when it wasn't a big mystery, because I explained how that skull could have came into existence and they completely cut it out.
Mm-hmm.
I know we talked to Chester Moore on the show, and he has a how did he call it, like feral primates. He spoke about that. He said that he had seen feral monkeys in Texas, and I know Florida has
a whole
rhesus monkeys.
Yeah,
actually wild down there now.
They found
primates are very adaptable.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing of it is, I got this call. How I got a lot of reports back in the 80s, okay, and 90s. It was way before the internet really got really popular, okay, is that I wrote a basic letter, and I was able to get all the addresses to all 88 counties in Ohio. And I wrote a letter to their sheriff's departments of all 88 counties and mailed them all off saying, look, you get a Bigfoot report, don't laugh it off, send it my way. And that actually worked because I was getting a lot of reports from people that contacted the sheriff's department because they seen something and the sheriff's department gave my information. Well, I ended up getting really good friends with a couple Adams County deputy sheriffs because they were contacting me all the time about Bigfoot sightings that were there. And there was one particular sighting that took place where there was a trailer and there was a ravine next to this trailer. And it was a young guy, I think it was like 22, 23 years old. His wife was like 20 years old, and his sister, who was, like 19, they all lived in this trailer. Okay. So he works nights, and there was a thunderstorm, really bad storm. So they're hearing this screaming going on and banging up on the side of the trailer and all this just crazy noise. And they described this screaming like a ape. Okay. And the banging and all this stuff. So next morning, the husband gets there. They call the sheriff's department. Sheriff's department comes out. They investigate, find a bunch of tracks and stuff. And he calls me and he says, look, I just got this, report. You might want to come down here and look at it. It's really interesting. A lot of tracks and stuff. So I end up coming down or over there to it. And by the time I got there, the husband ended up making casts of some of the prints. Okay. So he had this handprint that came out of the ravine, and there was a branch, and you see where the branch was just like pushed down into the ground, where just the thumb in this part was on the branch, and all you got was this part here. Okay. So I got the cast from them. I got the prints and all, the footprints and all that things. So in that handprint, I believe, was part of MonsterQuest also, where Joey Chilcutt looked at it. Okay, and he confirmed that it was some type of primate. They couldn't confirm what it is. And again, I stated, which they cut out, that there could have been someone who had a large primate, chimpanzee, or a gorilla as a pet, because we at the Cincinnati Zoo had a gorilla that lived in captivity in someone's private residence. They had a facility for it in Ohio for 20 years.
Wow.
Okay.
Jeez.
And when it came to the Cincinnati Zoo, it's never seen another gorilla in its life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Until it came there. So, yes, you can buy these things if you got the right connections, the right money, and the right paperwork. Okay. And I sat there and I stated, this hand is very ape looking because it had the short, stubby fingers. It had the dermal ridges. Everything matched what a gorilla hand would look like. Okay. I sent a copy of I had several copies of the cast made. I sent a copy to the Museum of Man in San Diego, okay, which is the largest primate facility, that deals with everything primate. They looked at it. They had no match whatsoever in their whole collection of that particular handprint. I sent a copy of the Bone Clones, which is the number one company out there that makes gorilla handprints. Okay, they even stated they don't have this in their collection. Jimmy Chilcutt actually did the same thing. He contacted Bone Clones and all the other stuff. They confirmed, this was not made by a cast. This thing was made by an actual living animal. And Jimmy Chilcutt confirmed that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the chance that what this thing was, me personally, I don't think it was a Bigfoot to say. I think it could have been someone's pet gorilla or large chimpanzee that got out or that's been out living in the woods where it was able to adapt to the environment. That's a possibility. But there again, the show did not want to listen to that part.
All right.
Okay. All they wanted to listen to was, making a mystery. There's some strange creature out there that, like Bigfoot. And it was just crazy. It was just absolutely crazy. And then from there on, I was like, I don't know if I ever want to do TV again, because if they're going to take something and they're going to twist it and they're going to make you look bad, because that's exactly what they did. I mean, because I had explanations for the skull and for the handprint, and they just completely cut that out. And I was very pissed about it.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to cheer you up because you told me that you liked classic rock. Now, I'm going to admit right up front, I don't know why AI thinks this is classic rock, but okay, whatever. This is AI's version of classic rock, and this song is called Joedy's Quest.
In the shadows and the tall timber hoods, Bigfoot's whispers, dolphins howl in the air. You feel the eyes in the silence, beware. That's a cover, secrets running deep. Jody's got a purpose, ain't no time for sleep. Footprints in the mud, clues in the breeze. At the cracklings, wave rustles, ancient leaves. Joedy Cook on the hunt, gotta find the truth. Lost in the night, searching for the proof. Bigfoot's path, dogman's eyes glowing bright. Ohio's dark heart, pounding through the night. Maps and tales spread across the bed. Stories of creatures that fill folks with dread. Jody's not scared, he knows what he seeks in the moon's cold light. Mysteries speak, cameras ready, traps set in the dark. Every twitch snaps, feels like the spark. Whispers in the wind, calling his name. Chasing the shadows, chasing the flame. Joedy Cook on the hunt, gotta find the truth. Lost in the night, searching for the proof. Bigfoot's path, dogman's eyes glowing bright. Ohio's dark heart, pounding through the night. truth. Lost in the night, searching for the proof. Bigfoot's path, all his eyes glowing bright. Ohio's dark heart, howling through the night.
Your new theme song, Joedy.
That's
You
pretty
gotta
good.
send me- you have to send me a copy of that.
Yeah, I liked it.
I like it.
That was good. That was
Yeah,
good.
I tell you, I save all of them because I always end up sending them.
Yeah, definitely want a copy of that.
I'll send it.
Thank you.
While we was talking about MonsterQuest, I want to chime in. On the show, you did something that, as a Bigfoot researcher, I think was probably the most innovative at the time when you created the mannequin
Mm-hmm.
and put it out. What can you tell us about that? What was your inspiration on that?
You know, I found if we put a decoy out there, it might draw something in. Okay. And again, things that drew it in, they didn't put on the show, because there was one where a rabbit actually came up to it, and then a deer came up to it and was sniffing on it. Like none of that stuff was ever shown in, on the show. They did show like two people walking down looking at it and so forth. But we just felt if we put a decoy of something that looks like a Bigfoot, if they were territorial, it might drag it in. And if we could see them go up to it, that would have been great, because we had I think 3 different cameras on it on 3 different angles. And it snowed real heavy that night. And so forth. So you can see on the video where it came through. But I just thought that would be kind of interesting, to do a decoy out there. And we had a little bait trap set up, and like I said, nothing even touched it.
Yeah, that was like I said, I thought that was really cool. The mask especially. That was
There was two of those masks that were made. I had one, and Wool Heater down in Texas. I can't think of his first name.
Craig.
Yeah, he has the other one. And actually, I had it. We did an investigation up in Pennsylvania, and we had it set up there in Pennsylvania, and someone stole it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They took the cameras too. I mean,
Oh, wow.
so I've been looking for it. So I've been looking
Wow.
for it on eBay.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
I thought
crazy.
that was really that was probably the most intelligent move I've seen on television from a researcher. That was really slick. I just want to give you props on that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was neat, because I told them, I said, I got this decoy I like to set up and see if we can bring anything in, so it's just, sometimes they work, sometimes, decoys don't. You have to, one thing I learned, like if you're sending a decoy up, you have to use some type of pheromone with it, in order to cover up, because if you use fake fur, it's going to put off a lot of that,
Yeah.
petroleum that's in there, I guess. And it's just kind of like throw it off a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Joedy, I ask everybody on the show, and it's a weird question. It's animal, mineral, or vegetable. Do you believe that Bigfoot is a natural occurring animal, and the mineral part of it, do you think that it might be extraterrestrial or interdimensional? Or the vegetable part of it, do you think that it might be supernatural, or do you believe it's a combination of all of them?
I think it's a combination of all of them. Bigfoot, I believe, is definitely flesh and blood, but there's supernatural aspect to it. Okay. As far as extraterrestrial, okay, I don't think he's extraterrestrial, and I'm going to tell you why. This is my opinion only. I believe whenever there's a UFO Bigfoot connection, it's because that Bigfoot was abducted and he was released, and that's where you have those two occurrences. I was a UFO investigator for a long time before I got inside doing cryptid. And I interviewed a lady that was an abductee, and she stated when she was in the ship, she was laying on the table and she looked over and there was a Bigfoot laying on the table next to her that they were examining. Okay. So are they able to, I mean, with his mindset, okay, he's probably has common sense, but he doesn't have intelligence. Okay. And, he's probably more easier to control compared to a human, I think. And I think that's why you have a lot of sightings between Bigfoot and UFOs, because they were most likely abducted or they're using them for some type of labor. That like I said, that's my opinion only.
That's a good answer. Good answer. Uh, if you don't care, can you tell us how did you get interested in Sasquatch and other cryptids?
Well, like I said, I was a UFO investigator for a long time, and back in the 80s, before cable TV, there was public access TV. Okay, and you had all these public access shows going on. So we did a TV show called UFO Update Live that ran for 10 years. It was a live show we did the first Wednesday of every month. Okay, it was on a Wednesday night, and it came on at 7 o'clock, and it went to 8 o'clock. And we had different guests that came on the show, and we talked about all kinds of different UFO stuff. And it was Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana where it was played. Got a lot of really good feedback from a lot of people in the UFO community. So we were starting getting a lot of these Bigfoot reports that were coming in. And we thought, okay, that's kind of interesting. This is a new subject. A lot of these guys felt there was a UFO connection to it. I never did. I just felt it was more of a cryptid thing. So George Clapperson and myself decided we're going to go and take on these Bigfoot reports that's coming out of Ohio. Okay. And I kind of fell in love with it. And everybody who's in the Bigfoot field will tell you, when they first get into the Bigfoot field, it's addicting. You eat it, you sleep it, you live it. Okay. And that's all you do. Okay. And sometimes you kind of forget about your family a little bit. Okay. And that's the truth. I mean, you just get so obsessed with it. Okay. And that's what happened. I just got so obsessed with it. I mean, every single weekend, man, I was out. Okay. Every show I could find, I was watching. Every article I could find, I was reading. Constantly going to the library, looking at different books, looking through newspapers, going around talking to people, putting flyers up, getting things. And like I said, it was an exception, that I got into. It was more than what the UFO stuff. I mean, I was really into the UFO, but the Bigfoot stuff, man, it overwhelmed me. And that's how I got into it. And, Billy will tell you, the field got to the point where it got so political, it became a clique. You weren't speaking at a conference unless you had the right last name or you were friends with somebody in the field. And that was it, and it put a whole bad taste in your mouth, because it was this, like I said, it was just one big clique. Mm-hmm. And it just got, it got crazy. No one wanted to look at anybody else's research unless you were somebody, that was on TV or had a big name or, had books or something crazy like that. So I made the decision, I want to stay into the field. So I was looking at other cryptid stuff. And then one day I'm going through some old reports back in the 90s. And I'm like, there's something about these reports, these Bigfoot reports. This one here, someone saw this Bigfoot that had a snout. Someone saw a Bigfoot here that had legs like a dog. Then someone saw a Bigfoot here that had like high pointed ears. Okay. Well, maybe this wasn't a Bigfoot they were seeing. Maybe it's this new cryptid that everybody is starting to talk about called the Dogman. So I was like, okay, that is the direction I went. So that's the direction I am at now. But I still do the Bigfoot stuff because we still get Bigfoot reports that are coming in, and we're still talking with people that's dealing with Bigfoot. So, is there a connection with Bigfoot and Dogman? I think so, because they're in the same territory, because we did a map. Well, we're still working on it, of layovers between Bigfoot sightings and Dogman sightings, and they're pretty much in the same area. So there's some type of contact that's going on with these two cryptids. But like I said, when it to get back to the Bigfoot stuff, when you had shows like Finding Bigfoot, which was really good entertainment show. There was nothing else out there Bigfoot, so everybody watched it. And you kind of disagree with a lot of what people were saying on that show, because you use common sense. And when you talk to other researchers about it, everybody has their own views. But one of my biggest arguments about Bigfoot was, people believe that Bigfoot would sleep 8 hours, get up, look for food, and that was it. No, it couldn't. Something that big could not sleep 8 hours, okay, and have someone watching the whole clan and then go out looking for food. It doesn't make any sense. Something that large, you would have to sit there and think about. It would have to have a calorie intake of at least 3,000 to 5,000 calories a day. Someone like us, you and me, okay, we're big guys, okay, 2,500 calories a day is probably about a minimum what we do. And some
probably what we should be doing. We'll
I'll go with that.
Yeah, so we'll probably hit a little bit more, okay. So something this size is going to have to keep its calorie up close to 5,000, probably more. So it's going to spend every waking moment looking for food. It's going to find food. It's going to eat. It's going to sleep for a little bit, get back up, and he's going to do it all again. And that is how his whole 24-hour period is. He eats, he sleeps, he eats, he sleeps. He doesn't have the luxury of sleeping. He's going to spend a majority of his time looking for food. It's not like us. You and I can go to our pantry and our refrigerator that's completely full, stand in front of it, and think about, well, am I too lazy to make something, or is there something there I can just grab and open up and eat? Okay, this doesn't have the luxury of doing that. So he's going to spend a majority of his time, finding something to eat. But yet when he's done eating, he's going to sleep for a little bit. And a lot of people in the field sit there and thought, no, that's crazy. These things, they sleep all during the day and they go and do their hunting at night. Well, they probably got good, vision at night and so forth. But most of the stuff that they're hunting is going to be asleep, and they're going to have to go up on it while it's asleep to get it. When during the day, animals are more active, fish and birds and small rodents and so forth like that are more prevalent when the light is going on, because they know when the light's off, it's danger for them. So you got to look at that, and he's probably out looking for food at night too, but he's going to get something that's more that he's able to get, like more like bugs in the fruit, berries, things like that he's able, nuts and stuff like that they can consume, better at night than they come during the day, than look for actually small rodents and fish and things like that, mushrooms and, so forth. But like I said, they're going to sustain all that time looking for food more than they would be actually sleeping.
Yeah, and just on that subject, a bear is a really good predator, but every time they hunt, it doesn't always lead to a kill. So they're constantly feeding as they're hunting.
Yeah, at the same time, Bigfoot is doing the same thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Bears can hibernate Does Bigfoot hibernate? I doubt it. I don't see it's happening. But here's an interesting story. I have a friend, okay, that is a trying to think of the right word for it. They're a veterinarian, but I can't remember what they actually call them for the U.S. Forest Service. They call them something completely different. But she contacted me, and she told me that they were finding bears that were hibernated, that were dug up, and their backs were completely snapped. And we're talking grizzly bear and black bear. Now, they know grizzlies will dig up black bear and eat them. Okay, they know that. But it's not eating the bears. It's killing the bears. And whatever it is, if something big enough to snap 1,000-pound bear back and crush its, rib cage, there's something big doing it. And they have no idea what's doing it. There's something out there that's killing bears, digging them up out of the dens and killing them. They think it could be a Bigfoot, because a Bigfoot, hey, these things are a threat. They're competition with food and so forth. If they're hibernating, they're sleeping, I have a better opportunity to take them out. That's a possibility. That's what they may think. But they also may think that, maybe there's something else out there, a different type of breed of Bigfoot that's much, much bigger, that we don't know about, that's actually doing this, to bears,
I know you mentioned that you do study in the Dogman, and you are the founder of the North American Dogman Project. Like I said, I know you also study about the Dogman, but I saw a little clip where you talked about an unknown planet attack in Cobb County, Tennessee. What can you tell us about that?
Well, they're not sure what it was. Okay, now there's a couple of different ones that took place in that area. Okay, there's one where a young boy was checking on his dog, and he was pulled all the way up the hill. Okay, and I think that was in the Kentucky part of towards Tennessee. And they're trying to say it was a dog, a pit bull that did it. But the problem was he was 300 feet. He was pulled. He was like 110 pounds, and he was dragged 300 feet up a hill while it was raining. And they don't think a pit bull could have done that, because there were dogman sightings in that area, and they were finding a lot of other animals that were, completely mutilated, like horses and goats and cows and things like that. Now, there was a woman that was attacked, which I've got the autopsy on it. And literally, this thing licked the skin off of her. I mean, this was just, it was pretty gross. But the thing about it, when you read it, the doctor, you can tell this doctor's having a really hard time justifying what he's saying in that autopsy, meaning that he knows what he's saying is bullcrap. There's more to it. Okay, so I got the autopsy under the Freedom of Information Act, but they didn't give me none of the photographs or anything like that. I just actually got the report. They're withholding all the photographs of the bodies and stuff. And I can care less if I got the body pictures. I was more concerned on what the doctor had to say. But like you said, when you read the report, he's having a really hard time justifying what he's, what lie he is saying. And that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I know in that report, there was a man that was killed, and they actually blamed it on the dogs of another man. I think his last name was Owensby.
Yeah,
and they were horses, it's a really big dog, and they are fairly aggressive.
Yeah, I got that autopsy also, and they were trying to say, it was the neighbor's dog, but if you read the autopsy, have you read that autopsy?
I haven't read the autopsy, no.
Okay, I'll have to send it to you. There's things that is mentioned in autopsy that does not coincide with normal dog attacks, domestic dog attacks. Okay, because this thing, literally just ate this guy. Okay, literally ate him. Okay, but the dogs had no human DNA when the dog was swabbed. Okay, and I think one of the dogs they ended up putting down, but there was no human DNA that was swabbed in the mouth, and there was no remains of human in the dog's system. So the dog couldn't have done it, because if these dogs ate this guy, I mean, literally, they ate him almost down to the bone. Okay, the DNA would have been all over the dogs, and when the police got there, they stated that there was no blood or anything on these dogs. It was just they knew what happened to this guy, and it was easier to blame these dogs and put these dogs down. But when they did the autopsy and they did the DNA swab, that stuff got out that there was no human remains whatsoever. But like I said,
there's a lot of controversy over the man that was found dead in the yard because he was a known drug user.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people said that he was probably high and tried to jump on the dogs and all this other stuff.
Right, but the thing of it is, there was no DNA. None of his DNA was ever found on any other part of the dogs or the other guy's property. That's the thing, and it was at night where this was happening. No one heard anything that this guy was attacked. I mean, at least you would hear the dogs and you would hear him screaming, and no one heard anything. His body was found in that condition the following morning. And people assumed, because this guy had these large dogs that were, always barking at people and always growling at people, that was what happened. So no, it was, because they had dogman sightings in that area. They've had other situations where, like you said, horses were half eaten, cows were half eaten, pigs were missing. They found a couple of pigs, like 200-pound pigs that were eaten on, but no one was able to hear anything. No one saw anything. So there's something there that was doing this. But there again, one thing we found out, is this stuff being covered up? Yeah, because our first year we had our website provider contacted us, literally called me on the phone. Okay. And I was at a doctor's appointment and left a message to call them. So I called them and they asked me straight out, are you guys doing anything that you're not supposed to be doing on your website? They said, we looked at your website, we couldn't find anything. And I asked, why? What is the problem? He says, because you're having a lot of 3-letter agencies monitoring your site. I'm not talking one time. I'm talking they're on your site up to 3 times a day, every single day. And he named off all the agencies that were doing it. He even named agencies from other countries that were on the site that was monitoring our site. And they're still doing it to today. And that was 2 years ago that we got that phone call. And like I said, because we're getting 60,000 hits a month on our website. That's good. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
60,000 hits. So we're able to tell, who's looking, not like somebody sitting there and you got your, Joe Blow sitting at home, nothing like that. But if it's a government agency, we were able to tell that a government agency is looking at our website. Okay. We were able to get that set up through GoDaddy. So we know whenever somebody's on there. And like I said, they're on there. They're on there. Now, okay. Are these agencies looking at us? for whatever reason, that's a possibility. But could it also be some employee on his lunch break looking on the website? Okay, using a government computer. That could be it too. That could be it too. Our website has never been hacked or anything like that, but we've been getting some really crazy stuff that's being sent to us, and then we're getting stuff, pictures and videos that's being sent to us that's getting pulled from the emails. Okay, which is odd.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we got this one where this person had some pictures from the government, and they sent it to us, and we couldn't get the file open. Okay, and we contacted the person back, and then all of a sudden it's like, they're gone. The email gets sent back as, it doesn't exist anymore. It says, some really crazy stuff that we're getting, from people, and pictures that are, like I said, stuff is getting pulled from the website or from the emails before we even get to see it. Which is weird.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But it's like we have nothing to hide. We're not keeping anything secret. If the government wants something, go on the website and look. We're not hiding anything. We don't get anything where it's putting national security at risk. We're getting some really crazy stories from people and so forth. But it's just, I don't know. It's just, I just don't know why they want to look at us for whatever reason, and why are certain pictures and videos are being pulled, from the emails. Doesn't make sense.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah, that is. Can you believe we've already did an hour? Actually, a little over.
Yeah. That's a quick show.
Yeah.
Quick show. All right, Joedy, we appreciate it. We really do.
No problem.
Very much.
How's God, what's that one guy I used to hang with all the time? Bruce.
Bruce, I talked to that dude probably 2 or 3 months ago, and I don't know. He I teased him. I teased him last time I talked to him. I said, "What'd you do? Go get married or something?" I never heard from you. And I know he's got a girlfriend. He won't talk about it.
Oh yeah,
but yeah. He quit. He quit doing Creature Weekend and everything. So yeah, I ain't seen him in a long time. But
yeah.
Joedy, can you hang on for a little bit while we close the show, and then we'll come back? Okay. Yeah. All right. So I want to thank Joedy. I want to thank everyone for coming on the show tonight. I'm going to do something that Digger Dog always tells everyone to do, and us being the host should be doing it ourselves.
That's right.
So if everybody's watching on YouTube, please hit the like button and please hit the subscribe button. It does not charge you. There is no cost to subscribe, but it does help get the word out about the show. And I keep getting people contacting me on social media. Man, when'd you bring the show back? And I'm like, dude, we're on episode 28.
Yeah.
So when you click the subscribe, it helps. When you click the like button, it helps. So please do us a favor and do that. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we will see you guys next Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Everybody have a wonderful night.
Good night, everybody.
Something's lurking in the woods, and it's waiting for you. At the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Camping Adventure on September 6th and 7th, gather your courage and meet in Farmington, Pennsylvania for a weekend of Bigfoot night hikes, Sasquatch karaoke, and more. Meet celebrity guests, dive into workshops, and explore the wild side with vendors and food trucks. Feeling brave? Get your tickets now at PABigfootCampingAdventure.com. The Pennsylvania Bigfoot Camping Adventure. We'll see you in the woods if you dare.
God, what is it with the
Uh-oh.
mouth?